Hey guys, what's up? I'm Carly. This is one of my first few YouTube videos. I'm totally new here. So, who am I? And what am I doing? I'm Carly Mead. I am 25 years old. I am an entrepreneur. I am obsessed with becoming the best version of myself, striving to be the healthiest and most optimal me that I can be, to show up as a better person for everybody else in my life. I run two businesses. I have Elite Custom Apparel, which is a screen printing and embroidery business, and then I have my online coaching business where I help women optimize their health, get dialed in on their daily routines, their nutrition, their fitness, to become the best version of themselves and repurpose their identity and find their purpose in life. So how did I get here? It's a long, crazy life that I've already lived in the short 25 years. But I never lived a normal life, ever. I've always been kind of the girl who doesn't fit in, the girl who wasn't like everybody else, the girl who's just different. And I always thought that that was a bad thing. I always, it always shot at my confidence and my ego because I didn't fit in. But let's start from the beginning. So when I was 7 years old, I started gymnastics, and I spent 14 years pushing and training and getting to almost an elite level of gymnastics. I trained down at the National Training Center in Texas at Bella Caroli's Ranch 2 different years in a row. I got invited down. I've climbed the levels. I was always the young girl training with the older girls. I ended up, I really wanted to go to the Olympics. That was my goal. That's what I wanted to do. But a few life things happened, and I kind of changed my course to pursuing college and getting a college scholarship. So my sophomore year of high school, I committed on a full athletic scholarship to college, to Western Michigan University. Sophomore year, I was 15 years old with a full ride to college. That's a huge accomplishment. That's not normal. That's not a normal kid's dream even. Like, most people don't. How do you know what you want to do at 15 years old? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I never lived a normal life. I was in the gym every single day from the time I was 7, training from 25 to 35 hours a week. At my highest level of training, I was at about 35 hours a week. And I stayed in school, and I did all that. So I never fit in with the crowd. And when I was about 16 or 17 is when I started realizing that my health was not in check. But I didn't necessarily know why. I didn't really know what any of that meant. And you would think, being such a high-level athlete, that they would be so big on keeping you healthy, teaching you about nutrition, and all these things. But they didn't. Like, yes, they said, oh, eat healthy, but what does that mean? Especially as a kid, like, what do you know? And honestly, they didn't know. If I knew what I know now, my whole life could have been so much different. My career in gymnastics could have been so much different, but everything happens for a reason. So I went about 22 years of my life without drinking water. I kid you not. I probably have drank more water in the last 2 years of my life than the entire combination of my first 22 years. So, what started happening when I was like 16, 17? Well, even before that, I started with a chronic sweating problem. I had severe sweating from my hands, my feet, and my armpits, to the point where I could not wear anything but black because all I did was sweat, and it was the most embarrassing thing of my life. I would just, any climate, whether I was hot, cold, comfortable, my hands would just be dripping sweat everywhere, and my armpits would just drip down my arms. Like, how embarrassing is that? Especially a young girl going through puberty and, you know, wanting boys to like her. So I've had that since I was little. I cured that by myself later on. So aside from that, I started having just a lot of inflammation all over my body. My body blew up. My hands were so swollen every single day to the point where they hurt. My face was puffy. The rest of my body was so puffy. My diet consisted of cereal and baked ziti. Yes, training as a high-level athlete, that was my diet. And I went through body image issues where I would starve myself throughout the day and then binge eat at night, and it was a whole roller coaster. I've been through it all. And then I was also dealing with like really bad fatigue to the point where like I couldn't get through my practices anymore, and I just kept saying like, I feel like something's wrong with me. My acne was horrible. My hormones were so out of whack. And my gut was one of the biggest problems that I've dealt with as I got older, because I didn't realize it when I was younger. And the bloating and the cramping and the uncomfortableness of my gut every single day was unbearable. So I went off to college thinking that there was just something wrong with me, and I missed my turn. There was just something wrong with me, and I didn't have my motivation to get through gymnastics. So I went off to college thinking that everything would get better. Well, the grass is not always greener on the other side. It didn't get better. I struggled really bad. I did really good gymnastics, but mentally I struggled really bad. Let's not crash the car today. Mentally I struggled really bad. I was still having body image issues, and I got injured really early on in the season. I had a high ankle sprain, took me out for majority of the season. And then I was just getting pushed and pushed and pushed by my coaches. And one thing that a coach said to me that fuels me every single day to just make it in this life and just crush all of my dreams, because I know I can do it. I had a coach say to me, I recruited a Ferrari and I got a Beetle. And that crushed me. That crushed everything inside of me. Looking back, it was one of the most fueling and best things that probably could have been said to me, but in the moment, it destroyed me. I will have a Ferrari one day. I will have a Ferrari, blacked out, tinted windows, black rims, like a Batmobile. And the license plate is going to be Beetle. So I'm going to have a blacked out Ferrari with a Beetle license plate. And when I do that, you're going to know why. So I met Carter, my now husband, when I got home from school that year. And I ended up not going back to Michigan. I had a mental breakdown the week before I was supposed to leave for school for my sophomore year. I ended up transferring to Rutgers, back home here in Jersey, for my sophomore year. I gave up my full scholarship because I just felt that horrible about myself, mentally, physically. I couldn't do it. I could not do it anymore. I gave up a full scholarship. So I transferred home to Rutgers, thinking once again, this is going to be great, right? Now I'm home. Now I have control of where I am. Now I'll love gymnastics again. So I did a couple months. They took me onto the team with hopes of money in the future, more scholarships later. And the team was great. The girls were great. The facility was absolutely amazing. But my heart just wasn't in it anymore. And I got to the point where I was going to the gym every single day, hoping to get seriously hurt so that I didn't have to do it anymore. Because I felt like a failure if I decided not to finish out my career. Like, that was not an option. I couldn't do that. So I figured, well, if I get hurt, then that's not my fault, and then I don't have to do it anymore. And that's what my thought process was. And I wanted to get seriously hurt to just end my career. And then I never told anybody that. I never told anybody what I was feeling inside of how severe my mental state really was. But I just started to realize, like, this is not healthy. This is not safe. And I went to I finally got myself together. I went to my family and my coaches, and I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I go to practice every day hoping I'm going to get hurt, and it's not safe. They sent me to a sports psychologist. They granted me 2 weeks out of the gym to live a normal life. No connection to gymnastics, because when you're a gymnast, you never have time off like that. Like, there's no off season to have a couple weeks out of the gym. From the time I was 7 until 19, the most I ever spent outside of the gym was 1 week. And in those 2 weeks, there was actually a girl on another team. I never met her. I didn't know her. I had no correlation with her. But a girl on another team had a freak accident in training. She broke her neck and she died. And I thought to myself, how selfish am I that I'm going to the gym every day hoping that I'm going to get hurt to end my career, and this poor girl just lost her life? Like, is that what I want for myself? So I ended up making the decision to hang up the leotards, hang up the grips, hang up the Leos, and be done. So I retired. It was like a nasty divorce. I broke my own heart. It was the hardest decision I ever made. And I was so lost. I lost my identity. I lost who I was. I didn't know how to live my life without gymnastics. And looking back, something so painful ended up being such a beautiful sign in my life, because as painful as it was and as hard as that was, it was the first time I ever made a decision for me. And I didn't realize how powerful that was. So then moving on, I stayed in school for a little while. COVID hit. Now I was home, no gymnastics, no training, no working out, no school, no friends, and I'm just home by myself. And I always knew that gymnastics was setting me up to do something more. I always knew that, but I didn't know what that was. Long story short, I said I want to start a business. My mom used to have a t-shirt business when I was really little, on a very small scale. So I kind of came to the idea of, I want to make t-shirts. So, what do I know? I started a business. That's just such a me thing to do, to just say, all right, yep, I'm doing this now. So I filed an LLC and I said, woohoo, I'm a business owner. What the hell does that even mean? What business did I have owning a business? I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I really didn't. I had no goals. I was just like, yep, I want to own a business. I don't want to work for somebody else. Okay, great. So I bought my first heat press. I started doing stuff down in the basement of my dad's house. And I knew I wanted to take it seriously. So I ended up moving into a small warehouse unit within 7 months of starting my business. Bought 2 embroidery machines, little ones, moved into a warehouse unit, and there I was, this little 20-year-old girl just running a whole business out of a warehouse unit and not knowing what I'm doing. And I, shortly after that, dropped out of school. I said I was taking a break because I couldn't do online school, but I knew I wasn't going back. Because I looked at it as, why am I going to go learn business from people who never ran a business? That was my take on it. So, dropped out, never finished my college career. And through running my company, I still had that same void in me of not feeling well, no energy, no motivation, and I always looked for outside things to fulfill that void. And then I found personal development. There was one video that I found on social media that this person I looked up to so much started talking about taking control of your life, and the way that you do that is taking control of your health. And I found that to be really interesting. And then he started going into how messed up our food system is, and if you're not doing this for yourself and realizing what you're consuming every day, then, you're doing yourself a disservice. And that was the first time my eyes got open to this life. And I said, I'm gonna get healthy. I actually can solve all of the problems that I'm having. And it started with just drinking some water, and here we are 2 years later. I'm like the healthiest, best version of myself I've ever been in my life. I cured all of my chronic inflammation. I balanced out my own hormones. I got rid of my daily headaches. I fixed my gut completely. I got rid of all of my acne. I just got my life back. Actually, I just started my life because I realized I never even had my life. And through doing that, my company grew. I started documenting online my little morning potion that I do every day with my salt. I started posting about that 2 years ago. Every single day, and I never missed a day. And I didn't even know what, having a personal brand was. But I just started posting it. I don't even know why. And then I started finding all these people coaching online, and I was like, how selfish would I be to not start helping other people make this major transformation in their life when I've literally solved all of the issues I've ever had without a single piece of medication and without doing any sort of treatments or anything. I solved it all just through my lifestyle and my diet. So now what do I want to do with this platform, right? One, I want to document my whole journey to show all of you how possible this life is to actually chase after the dreams that you want and achieve them. And how no matter what you want to do in your life, it starts with your personal development. So I want to document it all. I want to dive into my full story. I want to get into all the nasty parts. I want to show you guys everything, and I want to have you guys come along with me as I build my life. Because, okay, I have my company. That's a whole nother story in itself, and all of the mountains that we've had to climb and all the times that we got knocked down. But starting my coaching now, I have a couple clients that I'm working with, and I want to help thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So this is my start to helping other people change their lives the way that I changed mine. And I'm really excited to dive deep with you all and show you the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Because I think that that's so important to just be authentic. And I'm vowing to all of you that I'm just going to be authentic in this whole thing. I am going to just be myself. I'm not going to try and be somebody that I'm not. And I'm going to take you all along for the journey. I'm backing into my spot here at the gym. It's 6:10 in the morning, and I'm about to go hop on the Stairmaster and hit my morning cardio for the day. We're going to get into a nice morning routine. I'm going to show you guys how I do all that. But for now, this is me. I'm on YouTube. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm doing. And I'm just going to keep showing up. So, here's to a healthy, optimal, successful, wealthy life. I'll see you guys in the next one.